This is where T20 got really fun. These three T20 World Cups are remembered for the dominance of the West Indies, despite the fact that we had all written them off as a cricket force well and truly by that stage. They were held in Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and India respectively, so the conditions now were a lot different than what we had seen in the first three tournaments. 2012 was when we started to see the change in mindset of teams. We actually started to see proper themes emerge. You felt that teams were understanding the format a little bit more. So what we do here is we look at the well-known campaigns as well as some of the slightly forgotten ones through the lens of true values. Yes, Kohli will be here, but I promise you, so will cricketers you have largely forgotten or maybe didn't even notice the first time they were around. We do all this looking at true values of the players rather than the conventional metrics of that time. Welcome to the 2012, 14, 16 MVP level seasons. If you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months, plus gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a blocker protects the stumps with NordVPN today. In 2012, we have Mike Hussey again, and we've had him a bit, but we also have George Bailey as an outlier. Mike Hussey played a different role in this World Cup, coming in at the median over mark of 3.2. He came in over 10 overs later than that in the previous edition. He scored 155 runs at a true average of 56 and a true strike rate of 7, so much more like an anchor. In the next cluster, we have Samit Patel. Don't throw your phones away. He only played one innings, but also I like mentioning Samit Patel. Close to him, we had Virat Kohli and Ross Taylor. Kohli had a true average of 24 and a strike rate of 11. Taylor had a true strike rate of 8 and a true average of 28. Both had decent seasons. Umar Akmal did manage a high true average of 43, but he didn't actually score very quickly at all. On the true strike rate side, we have George Bailey. He went at plus 59 and also a true average of 18, though he only scored 84 runs in 3 innings. In the next tier, we have Shane Watson, Luke Wright, Faf du Plessis and Imran Nazir. Watto was the leading run scorer of that tournament, and his advanced numbers look even better. 249 runs with a true average of 29 and a true strike rate of plus 49. Luke Wright was probably one of the most underrated T20 players ever. This was mainly because he was really good at T20 cricket when England were rubbish, and plus, he always looked like he was trying to overhit every single ball. And in this World Cup, he scored 193 runs with a true average of 24 and a strike rate of 48. An MVP quality season that doesn't get talked about enough. Imran Nazir had a Freddie-esque season. He was slightly below par on true average, but he had a true strike rate of 46. He opened the batting for Pakistan and was fantastic for them. It's unfortunate that we were prevented from really seeing the best of him in this format. Gale, McCullum, Warner also did very well. Gale and Baz were two batters that dominated early T20 cricket before really anyone understood what they were doing. In the bowling, there's a few outliers here as well. This era was peak Narayan, and this World Cup was no different. A true economy of 2.46 and true wickets of 0.27. He was at his frugal best. We also see the South African duo of Callis, which is a bit surprising, and Dale Steyn. I didn't have Callis as a true economy of 2.29 and also taking 1 wicket more per spell than other bowlers. Steyn was par in terms of true wickets, but had an economy of plus 2 because of that. And let's just look at the true wicket sides now. Balaji, Mendes and Yuvraj topped the chart. Balaji had a really good World Cup. We had a true economy of 1 run better than average and took 1.66 wickets more than we would have expected. That's pretty damn exceptional. And also almost completely forgot. Yuvraj was brilliant with a true economy of 1 and a true wickets of 1.38. He was past his peak with the bat, but the Sri Lankan wickets definitely helped his bowling. And we can't forget Ajantha Mendes, who dominated from 2008 to 2012 because no one could pick him at that stage. A lot like Narayan, except he didn't evolve in the same way. He was the leading wicket taker with 15 and a true economy of 1.79 and true wickets of 1.44. And since this was in Sri Lanka, we see a lot of spinners like Dhananjaya, Swan, Ajmal, Badri and others do really well here. However, it's worth pointing out that Stephen Finn had a sneaky good World Cup here, 8 wickets, with a true economy rate of 1.35 and true wickets of 0.57. Finn was never really known as being economical, but he was fantastic in this World Cup. Now let's get on to our MVP, because it's not Stephen Finn, it's Shane Watson. As a reminder, he scored 249 runs with a true average of 29 and a true strike rate of 49. With the ball, he took 11 wickets at a true economy of about par and true wickets of 0.48. The superfecta. He was positive in every different part of the game. A frontline batter, a frontline bolt. And when Watto was good, few were better. It felt like at times Australia was going to win this World Cup despite the fact that their 11 was a little bit of a mess at times just because of Shane Watson. Unfortunately, he lost form against a very good West Indies side. Now, let's have a look at 2014. This was the arrival of Kohli, the Kohli as we know him. He was the leading run scorer in that tournament, 319 with a true average of 83 and a true strike rate of plus 15. It was a sensational addition for him. Although you do wonder whether Kohli could have traded some of that true average for more true strike rate. Although we could be having that conversation at any time since. But we are nitpicking on what is definitely a great season. Another outlier is Darren Sammy. People forget how good Darren Sammy was at his best. In this tournament, he had a true average of 88 and a true strike rate of 85. He scored 101 runs and was only dismissed once. He was coming in at the 15.4 over mark and in every sense was a finisher here. Elton Chigumbura also had a great season with a true average of 55 and a true strike rate of 85. But let's look at the actual freak on the far right. Glenn Maxwell, the big show. He had a true strike rate of 102. That means he scored a run more than expected for every single ball he faced. I don't think people actually understand how insane this was. He scored 147 runs, so we're not talking about a small sample size. Maxwell was really the batter that made the world realize the importance of attacking in those middle overs, and he's still an outlier in that. Let's look at the next cluster of batters. Kane Williamson did what Kane Williamson does, and he anchored the innings at a great true average of 50 and a decent true strike rate of 15. JP Duminy did a similar kind of role as well. However, let's talk about Tom Cooper. The Dutch batter was the second highest run scorer of this World Cup. 231 runs at a true average of 37 and a true strike rate of 14. Because he played for the Netherlands, we didn't really notice it as much as we should have at the time. We also need to talk about Alex Hales. At his best, clearly one of the best white ball hitters in the world. And at this World Cup, he was no different. He had a true strike rate of 46 and a true average of 35. And remember, this was when England were terrible and didn't support his type of play and didn't really understand what on earth Alex Hales was doing for them. Ahmed Sajjad had a true strike rate of 51 and a true average of 21. He was probably someone with an incredible amount of talent and promise that never really got the most out of himself. But if we talk about this specific tournament, 111 of his 138 runs came in one innings against Bangladesh. That means that he only made 27 runs in 3 innings against India, Australia and the West Indies. When it comes to bowling, Chatara did the unthinkable here. He was more economical than Peak Narayan. He had a true economy rate of 3.22 at par true wickets. Narayan, though, was not that far behind with a true economy of 2.91 and also was par on wickets. Both were exceptional defensive bowlers. In fact, you could argue that when you're that good at defending, you're essentially attacking because you're probably getting wickets at the other end. But the bowler who shines through here is Rangana Herath, who really wasn't even supposed to be involved in that campaign. And if we know one thing, it's that Bangladesh pitchers aid left-arm orthodox. He had a true economy rate of 2.31 and a true wickets of 1.21. He is known for taking 400 wickets at Test cricket, like mostly over the age of 30. But he was a very good T20 bowler when people actually used him, and he was certainly a weapon in this World Cup. And another finger spinner, Ashwin, was not too far away. He was the joint second highest wicket taker with 11, and he took them in a true economy of 1.87 and true wickets of 0.81. But let's look at another bowler who kind of bowled a little bit like a finger spinner, but was actually a wrist spinner, Samuel Badri, who is quite possibly the most underrated bowler in T20 history, although Umar Gul might want a word. A man who should get a lot of recognition, but is barely mentioned now. 2-time World Cup winner. He was an incredible power play spinner when we didn't actually know that that was a specialty position. And that's enough of my rant, although I will say this, he was pretty much the only wrist spinner to ever nail that position as a power play spinner as well. But that's it, enough of the rant. He had a true economy of 0.87 and true wickets of 1.37. And you may be wondering who the leading wicket taker is. Well, let me give you a hint. When this guy takes a wicket, he ends up running about 5 kilometers. Imran Tahir. He had a true economy of 0.51 and true wickets of 1.24. He was sensational in this World Cup, and he took a lot of wickets in the middle overs at a very good economy. Another bowler that was sneaky good was Amit Mishra. We now know that he's still playing in the IPL season at the ripe old age of 65. But before that, he took 10 wickets at a true economy of 1.09 and true wickets of 0.8. That's a pretty good World Cup. But Virat Kohli was the MVP by ICC standards, and to be honest, there's not much here to say that he shouldn't be. He scored 319 runs with a true average of 83 and a true strike rate of 15.47. And the highlight of this campaign has to be the 72 against South Africa in the semi-final. He was simply brilliant. But now, let us get to 2016. And other than ruining our chart, 2016 was Kohli's World Cup. And our advanced numbers support that. He had a true average of 113 and a true strike rate of 19. Not as many runs as 2014 season, but you'd have to say that he had a greater impact on his team than he did in the previous World Cup. That increase in true strike rate by a little bit was very valuable. But like 2014, if we had to nitpick at all, it would be that he could have sacrificed some of that true average for true strike rate. That certainly was an issue in the semi-final. But we also need to acknowledge that the Indian batting lineup was quite inconsistent in that World Cup, with Rohit Sharma being on the wrong end of the extreme here. And let's look at some other outliers. Despite the fact that Shahid Afridi was 4,842 years old, he managed to be a king of true strike rate again. What this man would have done in T20s at his peak, I need a moment. I need a moment to think about that. He had a true average of 2.4 and a true strike rate of 49. Alongside him is Gale. Again, he had a strange World Cup. He scored 100 but didn't do that much in the other innings. Martin Guptill, De Villiers, Butler, Roy, Sharjeel, others who had a phenomenal true strike rate around the 35 mark. England's shift in mindset is really evident here. You can see Butler, Roy and even Root having really high true strike rate campaigns. In terms of true average, Angelo Matthews was at 95 with a pass strike rate, which is so far removed from where he was as a younger player when we talked about him in a previous MVP video. Fletcher also has a great true average, but does it at a true strike rate of 14. MS Dhoni though had an interesting season. He was barely dismissed with a true average of 71 and a true strike rate of -7. So it definitely would have made sense for him to sacrifice that true average to score quicker. Let's also talk about the second highest run scorer, Tamim Iqbal. Kohli's season takes so much limelight that you almost forget that Tamim led the runs chart. Of course, some of that was who he played against, but our advanced metrics really support his case because he had a true average of 57 with a true strike rate of 33. This is kind of the player that I thought Tamim Iqbal could always be in T20 cricket, but we saw it so rarely. In terms of bowling, we have two outliers here. The South African duo of Kyle Abbott and Imran Tahir. The leggy had a sensational season, with a true economy rate of 3.14 and true wickets of 0.43. And on this side, we also have Ashish Nehra. He had a comeback in 2016 and definitely made the most of it. A true economy of 2.72 on par wickets, we would take that. Taskin Ahmed had similar numbers as well, a great defensive season. But let's look at Samuel Badree again, because I don't think there's enough times to ever look at Samuel Badree. Back-to-back brilliant World Cups for him. 9 wickets at a true economy of 2.38 and true wickets of 0.7. West Indian batting gets a lot of credit for their wins, but Badree was a huge part because essentially you couldn't score against him and he took wickets right at the top. And they didn't always have great seamers around him. He carried a lot of the load. Why do you think they try so hard to make Akil Hassan work? On the true wicket side, we have Kyle Ammett. This South African seamer took 7 wickets at a true economy of 1.95 and his true wickets were 1.6. He takes a wicket and a half more per spell than expected. That is pretty good. We also see Mustafizur Rahman here. This was the arrival of the Fizz on the main international stage. He took 9 wickets at a true economy of 1 and true wickets of 1.37. And kind of going in the other direction, we see James Faulkner, who was starting to go past his prime due to the knee injuries, but he still delivered in this tournament. Mitch Santner did quite well also. But let's talk about someone who doesn't get talked about a lot. One of my favourite players, David Willey. In this World Cup, he took 10 wickets at an economy rate of 0.58 and true wickets of 0.7. And what makes that so special is that 7 of those wickets came in the power play, something which England are still trying to replace to this day. And this is also when we started to see the rise of Rashid Khan and Mohammad Nami, both featured in the true economy rate and true wicket section with 9 and 11 respectively. Also on a side note, can we talk about Chameera here? It is truly impressive for someone to be this economical and still not take any wickets. But let's talk about our MVP again. It's going to be Virat Kohli, right? It's hard to look past just the amount of runs he made here. Badree winning the title probably has a shout, but Kohli was unreal when India were clearly nowhere near that good. He was without doubt the outlier performer of this season. And that's it for part 2 of our MVP series of these World Cups. We'll be back soon with part 3, so remember to subscribe, comment, and graffiti good errors on the wall of your local dentist. If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now.